Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
It is really one of the most important things that you can do in your life to find some peace, find the answers, move your life forward. It's so simple. Well, in theory, simple to do, but many of us shy away from it. We think we're doing it wrong. Does it really work? Scientifically proven, says it does. I'm talking about meditation. Meditation. Are you doing it? How do you do it? Are you thinking about it? We're going to talk with somebody who helps people in so many different ways move their life forward through meditation, energy healing, and so much more. She's with the Elevated Human Experience, and Rhee is back with us. Welcome. How are you doing today?
I'm doing amazing, Stephen. I'm so happy to be back here on with you again to have this conversation around meditation. I truly believe that if people can commit to actually meditating every single day, and if not, like even being able to incorporate it morning and night, I believe that 2 times a day is like very, very powerful. However, start with just once a day and even start with 3 minutes at a time, right? Just like you and I were just discussing, so many of us start and we overwhelm ourselves because we think it's this big job to do, when in actuality, when we talk about energy expert, the thing that I truly believe in is combining energy and programming or paradigms, right? The set of mental programs that are stored in our subconscious mind that really operates us, right? When we truly understand those two together, it literally is the keys to the magic kingdom. So,
and you've said before, even just 6 minutes a day, that was a number you gave a couple episodes ago. If you could just take the 6 minutes just for yourself to think, whatever, even meditate. So I struggle with it as well. Is there any wrong way to meditate if you're at least stopping and thinking? Are you at least halfway there? You're doing something.
The fact that you actually want to do it and you made a decision to do it, I believe is almost 90% there. Because if you think about it, and you probably heard this before, 90% of everything is actually showing up and doing it.
Sure.
Right. So the fact that you make a decision and you're attempting to do it is 90%. This is the key, and the most important last 10% to make it all the way through is the consistency. Not doing it every now and then, not doing it. It's like almost like the same idea of you can't eat all your favorite meals in one day and then starve yourself for the next 29 days of the month. Right? It doesn't work that way. Same idea behind meditation or those breathing exercises or the morning routine that we discussed. Right. And I want to share with you, for those audience that are listening, where the 6 minutes came from. I'm sure a lot of people might have heard this book called The Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod, right? It came from that, and it talks about your morning routine and how to win your day is to start your day. And it came up with a simple acronym called SAVERS. And SAVERS stood for silence, affirmation, visualization, exercise, reading, and scribing. And it breaks down the morning routine into those 6 components, like 10 minutes a day. And like I said, I couldn't commit for an hour, so I did a minute of each of those to start off.
Oh, was that your own formula, so to speak?
It actually tells you to do something. So I was like, you know what? I can't do an hour. I'm going to do 6 minutes. I'm going to do 6 minutes. So it started from there. And the silence, which is the S, it starts off with silence. It's almost like meditation. Now, fast forward through the repetition and creating my own habits, my morning routine is about an hour and a half to 2 hours long. And it can fluctuate there, and when I travel, sometimes it's 15 minutes. It's 15 minutes. But the point is, it became a habit that I don't go a day without having a morning routine. Right? Because I know it's literally when I get a chance to fill my cup to create my day.
Do you do the same routine every day, just an abridged version of it? Do you try and get, or you're traveling, you don't have a lot of time. So do you make sure that some things get priority? Like I don't care if I have 5 minutes, I am going to meditate. If I have more time, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. What is your top 3, in terms of time, if you can't do them all?
I love the fact that you asked the top 3, because those are my top 3. My top 3 is meditating. And again, that's my top 1. If I do nothing else, I am going to meditate for the day, right? The second thing is reading some form of self-help or reading something, because reading actually activates your mind so much more. And actually, when we're studying, we're increasing our awareness and our vibration. And the third thing is journaling. right? So those three for me is a big must: meditating, reading, and journaling.
And the one thing that you add, the final S in the acronym you just shared, scribing,
Scribing.
that's journaling.
That's journaling.
Wow.
That's
Okay.
journaling. hmm
Hmm.
So powerful, so simple.
And so
But I
simple.
think, yeah, but I think the challenges, and this goes along with everybody, and I've been through that as well. Sometimes we get to a point where we feel like we need something because our life is either out of whack or we're so overwhelmed or we're feeling like we're hitting rock bottom. So we search for something, right? And as we search for something, we're like, we're going to change everything. And all of a sudden, we commit to too much. We overdo, and then our habits break in because of the fact that it's just too much, too many changes all at once that it's hard to commit to all of it. So then we end up doing none of it. Right? It's literally like that's why I say even if it's 6 minutes a day. If we commit to 6 minutes a day and we do that on a continuous basis, then we can expand from 6 minutes to 10 minutes to 15 minutes, 30 minutes to an hour. Right? But if we say, okay, I've never done a morning routine before, and I'm going to start with an hour right away.
I'd be lost. I wouldn't even know where to start. All right, I'm going to meditate for 20, see how that goes. Journal for 5, and like try and yeah, I don't see that working out of the
Right.
gate immediately. You got to work your way up to it.
Yes.
Why don't we start with meditating? Now, we think we know how to do it. Maybe there's things that we're missing. Of course, we all have expectations of it. Where do you start with that?
So first and foremost, I think a simple ways, right? A lot of times people get overthink it. I believe the best meditations is being in silence and clearing thoughts. And now this sounds like a challenge because people say, I'm not doing it right. Like when I sit in silence, all these crazy thoughts keep coming in. Well, they're going to, right? They're going to because our brain is so used to going on autopilot with all the programming. Yet almost be the observer of your thoughts. So when you see a thought come in, just don't put any weight to it. Let the thought come in and then shelf it, let it go and clear it again. Let it go. It's almost like we tell ourselves we're doing it wrong because all these thoughts are coming in. Trust me, thoughts come in. Thoughts come in. And thoughts, even, a couple years after practice of meditation, I still have thoughts that come in, right? I still have thoughts that come in. I'm like, oh, shelf it, shelf it.
Would you
What
say the
happens?
experience? I don't mean to cut you off, but you're right
No,
there. And I struggle with this. I think maybe others do. Does the experience of meditation come in where the thought comes in, but you're able to get rid of it sooner, or you're able to not react to it? It's a lot easier.
yes,
It's just like a fly that went by, as opposed to it landing on you. You just let it go by, and that's it. With experience, just went by, done.
you literally hit it on the head, right? And the
Hmm.
more that we practice it, the more that it becomes easier for us to shelf it. And the more that it's easier to just, like you said, let it float by, right? And go back into nothingness again. Let it float
Hmm.
by. I think the most thing for me and so many people that I work with is that we start having this negative talk about ourselves afterwards. Like, I'm not doing it right. I must be screwing this up.
Yeah.
Right. Let's start with positive affirmation and say, you know what? I am doing it right. I am doing it right. And believe it or not, it's going to catch on to a point where then you're like, oh, because again, this whole entire living journey is just for you to get to know your higher self. It's all about awareness, becoming more aware of who you are, what you are, how your brain operates, right? Everybody's brain operates differently. How your body operates and how your body feels, because everybody feels differently, right? Everyone responds and has a different perspective. That's why they call it practicing medicine, Steve. They're always going to practice because they can never get it right. Because every single human being is so unique in design by the way that our brain thinks, by the way that our body feels and reacts, right? So take the time to meditate and start off like 3 minutes at a time, something small, and if you can't do the small, at the beginning, find a short guided meditation. I mean, I love Abraham Hicks or Joe Dispenza. So you can find it on YouTube, find one of their guided meditation and just follow it through. Right.
I've heard
And
Joe Dispenza. I've heard that name a number of times.
so then it's tapping you on your shoulder. Right. It's funny how our life gives us clues. So I'm
Yeah.
sure.
Oh, you mean like when last winter I got 4 journals given to me, never even mentioned the word about journaling. They all just showed up different times within a week, whatever. And I still haven't taken advantage and really kicked in journaling. So it's got to get done. It's because the power of it is there.
Well, what's really fun, Steve, and I want to share the story through the repetition of it all and through just committing to that alone. I got to share with you the magic that we're able to create, the life that we're able to experience. I mean, I have people that come with me on vacations, or they just come to my house and they're like, yeah, magic happens around all the time, like the synchronicities and the patterns, or I'll have a thought and then it shows up, or I'll say something and all of a sudden it's played on the radio, or I'll think something and all of a sudden, it's there. That's how powerful we are. It's not just me. We're all that way, but it takes practice and consistency. That's why I'm on a mission to teach energy and paradigms, because energy and paradigms, right? When we understand those two, it literally starts to unlock the keys for us to find out what our truth is, what our purpose is, what our destination is. And then you start to see all these amazing patterns and how you're creating and attracting that. My desire is that everyone falls in love with the curiosity of who they are. Because we have this image of who we think we are, but a lot of times it's just masks that we put on to show up for those people that we care about, right? Or these masks that we put on because we think that this is how we're meant to show up. And I only know this because I've lived it for 40 years without even knowing what was happening, until I became consciously aware and I did the work. And now that I've done the work, I want to create a simpler and easier way for people to get there, right? Because Steve, I cannot even express to you, when I was coaching students, I used to say simple, not easy, right? It's simple, not easy. And for years, I was coaching students that way, simple, not easy. And then about a year and a half ago, I was like, I don't like the way that makes me feel, because when I say simple, not easy, it makes me feel like it's simple to understand, but I got to put in so much hard work. That's the feeling it gave me. And it felt daunting for me, or it felt daunting for the people that I were coaching.
And you use the word not in your statement, which right away is a negative. Just saying.
Right? So then I just took it out. I put simple and easy.
There you go.
So now for a year and a half, I've been saying simple and easy, simple and easy. And I tell my coaching students, if you don't believe it's going to be simple and easy, adopt my belief in it, right? Adopt my belief in it, adopt my belief in you, and then just do it, and you will see how much simpler and easier it becomes. And I kid you not, my students, it gets simpler and easier and simpler and easier. And the way that my brain works, it gets simpler and easier. And that's the gifts that I want to share, because our brains are so powerful that it will complicate, because it looks for the hard way, because that's how we've been programmed. You want something great, we got to work hard for it. You want more, you got to work harder. And that's how our brains have been programmed for generations upon generations.
I just going to say it's a generational thing. Yeah. Yeah. And younger generations now don't really so much adopt that. It's easy. It's much easier. I want to talk about meditation, goals, and expectations. When you meditate, Yun, what do you expect to get out of it?
I feel good. I feel calmness of mind. I have the ability to be present, right? I even give myself permission, especially towards the end of my meditation. I was, what do I want? Set the attention for the day. Right? What do I want? And then it's amazing to see, through the consistency and the consistent efforts of it, of how you really create the day. Because we talked about this on another session about law of attraction and law of manifestation. It works 1,000% of the time. So we're always attracting, always manifesting. The question is, do we like what we're attracting? Do we like what we're manifesting? Because a lot of times we're living out as players of other people's dreams versus creating our own dreams as a reality, right? So the meditation effort of it allows us to have that clearness of mind, that calmness of mind. And through the repetition of it, we learn how to allow our mind to be our servant and not our master.
Does it also work in the way, not to go back to the law of attraction. But, to your point here, let's say something happens during the day. You're a salesperson and you lost a big deal, or somebody took money from you. Whatever. I'm throwing hypothetical here. Instead of turning around and saying, or if you do turn around and say, oh, well, look what just happened. Really, how am I going to get that back? How am I going to make that up? Are you just setting yourself up for failure, as opposed to turning around and saying, all right, well, so be that. And we move forward. Can't control some things, and we move forward. Going to be good.
Right. I love that. You just answered it, right? When we go into that expecting like, oh, that, of course that happened to me. Why did it happen to me? We're creating that vibration again, because what we feel in the now moment is what we're attracting in the next moment, the next moment, the next moment. And think about like everything is connected to something, right? We're always connected. So when those things showed up, those are already momentum and energy that's already been set forth. And the more that we pay attention to it, the more that we create that same thing. So a lot of times that's what feels like the hamster wheel. Like, okay, here we go again, right? So we're creating it over and over again. Yet when we can say, okay, and this is where it becomes the rubber band trick, which I explained as well before in one of the calls that we had, snapping our wrist and switching that, because the first thought we can't control, but the second thought we can. So becoming more aware of our thoughts. When something like that happens, we say, okay, it's because something better is coming. Wow, there must be a better opportunity. Wow, how is that happening for me? And when we can get our brains to train in that other way of thinking, then every single time we're going to elevate our vibration and our awareness. So then we're going to attract in higher frequencies, right? Which are the higher things. And again, every situation that comes out making us feel negative emotions is really where our expansion happens. So it's actually gratitude for it, because if everything was great, we wouldn't know what great is, right? And every single time we feel a negative emotion, in that same moment that we feel that negative emotion, we're actually igniting more of what we want, because it's the polarity of it. So when we can really understand
in the
expansion,
example we gave before, let's say somebody took money from you, and what's the lesson? What's the takeaway? Be careful who you trust. So, hey, thanks for the lesson, universe. Thought I had that one down. All right, moving forward. Off
what's
running.
so wild? Oh, my mom growing up, there were so many lessons that I was learning that I didn't even realize. There were people that, took advantage of her and stole from her, and she would respond in a way. I mean, there was a one time, I think my mother, came from struggling of nothing from South Korea and came here for the land of opportunity. And she had a cash business and she had some money set aside, and somebody took over 10 grand from her. And she was searching for it. She thought she misplaced it. And I'll never forget this. This is how impressionable it was. She said, they must have needed it more than I do. So I'm just going to let it go. They must have needed it more than I did. So I'm just going to let it go. God gave me the power to know how to earn more money. Okay. Not for nothing. And again, I didn't know this growing up because I was a little kid. Knowing what I know now in universal laws and being in harmony with it, I understand that she had a lot of these basic philosophies that were instilled in her. Shortly after, she bought another business. Shortly after, she was able to receive another business at a discounted price. And again, I didn't know these things that were happening. She didn't know these things as it was happening. But being able to know what I know now and look back in life, you can almost connect all the dots.
Yeah. And that's what I look to. I call it connecting the dots, when you look back to certain things, but you gotta pay attention to them and then see how they react or reflect with other things. And then you're going to see there's something going on there. I want to ask you, when you meditate, do you ever fall asleep?
Yep. If you go through a guided meditation and you fall asleep, it's absolutely great. There's a lot of people that actually use this as a strategy when they go to bed. Put in a guided meditation and fall asleep to it. Because remember, your subconscious mind is where the programs are stored. And a lot of times when you're sleeping, your conscious mind is at rest and your subconscious mind is soaking it in, right? So if you're looking for money, put a money affirmation in and just go to sleep with it. Because the repetition of that, your subconscious is going to pull into that as a program. Because your subconscious doesn't know the difference between experienced reality or imagined reality. All it's going to take in as a program is anything that's played over and over and over and over again.
Interesting. How about a decision? Because I have a friend who's very intuitive, and I'll even ask her, what's your vibe on that? What are you getting on that? And she goes, well, give me a little time. And she'll come back, text me, and she's like, yeah, I meditated on it. Here's the answer. I got to tell you, more times than not, many more times than not, she's on point. She's on point, but she meditates on it. She has to get the answer. Do you feel the same way?
I do. I do. I do. And I believe that when we can work on our gut as energetically, when we can work on our gut, because think about this, the gut in every species, whether it's a plant, animal, or humans, any living thing, the sole purpose of the gut, right, is to keep the species alive. Right, is to keep the species alive. So your gut will never ever lie to you, but our brains and our body are the ones that are filled with data that may be self-sabotaging or limiting, if you will, but our gut will never ever lie. Right. So when we can get really in tune with our gut, there's an exercise that I teach all our clients as well, is connecting our brain, our throat, our heart, and our gut. Because if our heart and our gut can be connected to know our truth, and then our brain can be connected to actually think our truth, and then our throat can be used for connecting our truth, those are really the 4 organs that you really need to know. Right? So gut, trust your gut. If you get and play with it, play with your gut.
Test
right?
it.
What I mean by that is even say, is my name Yan? Right? Is my name Jack? Like, you're gonna know, and pay attention to those variations of the vibrations that you feel. Right? And start playing with it so that you know when your gut is telling you something. And then start asking your gut questions for anything. And your gut will never, ever, ever, ever steer you wrong.
Somebody told me that not too long ago, even just call it play along with it, where you just, what do I feel like for dinner tonight? Is it this? Is it that? What am I getting? And usually what you really want for dinner is the answer that comes from your gut.
100%. Your gut will never mislead you. So again, tie it back to meditation. The reason why meditation is so important is to get the calmness of the mind so that you actually can feel the gut. Because a lot of your brain wants to take control, which is your ego. Your brain, which is your ego and your personality, wants to win every single time. That's what it's programmed. It's like it just wants to take over, right? But our brains, we're holding on to so many other people's fears, worries, doubts, and traumas that don't even belong to us. Yeah, we've given it so much power, right? So release that, get more in tune with our gut, learn the calmness of your mind through the practice of meditation so that you can feel and be in tune with what your gut is. And now you have like the keys to the kingdom to create a life by design.
I think I would just meditate just to hear my gut. I'd be happy if I could tune in, if you will, to it. Cable channel, radio station, whatever it might be. If I could do that just alone, that would be fantastic. Do you feel that you can hear your gut when you meditate, or is it sometimes, and you've been doing it quite a while? Do you find that sometimes the signal's a little loose, a little low? Sometimes, am I getting that? What do I, try to interpret that? What's it trying to tell me? Do you I don't want to say struggle with that, but do you have challenges with that as well?
Right. So you ask yourself questions, right? The greatest solutions come from the greatest questions asked, right? The answers are inside of us, all inside of us. So ask her, did that feel right? Did I get that right? What's my purpose here? Okay. Get in tune, because you will find a rhythmic pattern of as to what your gut is trying to communicate with you, right? And what you really, really want. But you said something so important. And this, everybody has either heard of the book Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill or a study from it or some sort. But the number one thing that needs to exist on all of this is desire. So I know that you're going to meditate. I know that those journals, you're going to dust them off and start using it. You know why? Because of the words that you use, and you say, I just want this. I want this. What humans need to realize and know is anything that we ever want, that we truly want, we 100% of the time get. 100%. Not by accident, it's because of the laws of the universe. So then some people that are listening right now may say, that's bull crap, right? That's bull crap. That doesn't work because the things that I really want, I don't get. Well, the thing about it is, a lot of times we want comfort over what it is that we truly want. And so many people are living in comfort of complaining, comfort of misery, comfort of hard, comfort of frustration, without even realizing that those are the comfortable programs that our ego and our personality has been used to for so long.
Sure. Victim mode. Hello. You know how many people just switch into that mode, and it just because you're used to it. Your friends are used to
That's
hearing you.
comfort.
You know, it's a comfortable situation. The phone. But
Yes.
imagine if you called up your friend instead of, complaining about something. You're not going to believe the job I got or the offer I got. How fantastic is that? You know, what you said was powerful before. In that you'll get what you really want, but you have to make sure you really want it. If it's something you think you want, you have to be sure.
Mm-hmm.
Because you may think you want something based on, let's just say, somebody says, I want the family, the two kids, I want the dog, the white fence, all that. Yeah, fantastic. Is it really what you want? Is that, or is it what you think you should have?
Mm-hmm.
And there's a big
Mm-hmm.
distinction between the two of those. And also, I think the other thing comes into play: deserve. If you want
Thank you.
something, you have to feel like you deserve it as well. And so many of us don't, just the way we're brought up, you know,
Yeah.
just the way it is. You feel that I don't deserve that. Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do.
Right. It's so amazing. You hit upon so many great points. And the one thing that I want to go reiterate is when you said, is it what you truly, truly want? You will actually know what you truly, truly want by being the observer of your body. Because our body is actually an instrument of our mind. So when we really want something, our body will actually take action towards it, right? When we really want it, it will literally take action towards it. But a lot of times, pay attention when we find ourselves not taking action, it's in procrastination and it's an anxiety. And the reason why is because our bodies are addicted to the negative emotion. So it keeps us suppressed in that state until you can't take it anymore, until all of a sudden we become diagnosed with a sickness, and then all of a sudden we're injected with fear, and now our body's going to take action. Now, like, holy crap, I got to take action. A lot of times when people like really tap into this information and start believing and having faith towards it is when they've lost every other option.
Mm,
And I don't want people to wait that long. We don't have to suffer that long
so true.
in order to take action.
Yeah.
Right? We don't. We have to be aware that there's a simpler and easier way. Start with desire by giving yourself permission to say, what is it that I truly, truly want? And then surround yourself with people that believe in you, that empower you, and start educating and start studying. Start studying.
Somebody was very intuitive in my life, and they're still around. They told me when you're at your lowest point, you're most humble. And that's what you just described. That's where you pick up on it. But finally, you got me. All right. Now I'm paying attention. How do I meditate? From that point forward. We're out of time. Great talk today.
Amazing. Thank you so much for the opportunity. And if anybody wants to learn more, they know how to find me. But like I said, I'm on a mission to teach paradigms and energy to all those that are ready, because I truly believe that every single human on this planet has a genius within them that can never, ever be replaced. And that it's their duty to live their life by design and enjoy life. Enjoy life. Live a happy life.
What a planet this would be if we all figured it out. The elevation, the vibe would be just, crazy. Elevatedhumanexperience.com is the website. And always great having you on. And I look forward next time we talk. Good stuff today.
Same here. Same here. Thank you so much.
I will be journaling later tonight. I promise.
Yes.
I definitely
and meditating.
Will. And meditating. Yep. We're working on that. All right. We'll talk soon. Okay.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
Mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.